What's going on, y'all? This is your girl, Brie Undeniably, checking in for another episode of my speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we're discussing development, decision-making, and dedicating yourself to purpose. Today, as always, I'm here with another super dope individual. I am really excited to introduce him, but before I do, y'all know I like to get the shout-outs out in the beginning because I forget in the end, so... First and foremost, if you are watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to it wherever you get your podcasts, we are shouting out Gotham Podcast Studios. They are the ones hooking it up with the audio and the video for this production. So I am so excited to be working with them. They are amazing. So shout out to Gotham. Number 2. Shout out to MC Kicks. If you have not already checked them out, they have sponsored me since day one. MC Kicks will do customized kicks, denims, really all of your customized needs in streetwear. So you can check them out at EMCEEKICKS. If you add a .com, you'll get to the website, or you can check them out on social media. Right. And finally, you got to pump yourself up when you're doing something for yourself. So if you have not checked out my website, you can go there, brieundeniably.com. That's where you can get all of your dope individual merch, the I Am Possible merch, and you can check out all the other cool things that I'm doing, so different speaking engagements, workshops, and everything in between. If I have not shown y'all already, I've got my dope individual backpack here. So if you do want that, it actually says I Am Possible at the top. I don't know if everyone can see that, but definitely go check that out, brieundeniably.com. Okay, record time. Got all of my my shout outs out. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I've really been practicing that.
Yeah, I would.
So, without further ado, I am here with Dr. Andrew Summers, who also goes by Drew.
Drew, yeah.
Drew,
call me Drew.
So I certainly will. I'm pumped to have you.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Great. Awesome. I'm happy to have you. So I'm going to give you the introduction that you deserve, and then we are going to kick right into it.
Sounds good.
All right. So, Drew, 12 years down the path to becoming an orthopedic surgeon, Drew's life took an unexpected turn. As a result, he decided to pivot away from his surgical training in the healthcare system to find new purpose and direction. As a result, he has come to this podcast, which I'm so grateful for to have him because it is quite a story to tell from beginning to end. As a new entrepreneur and a motivational speaker. He just started his own podcast titled Doc on Fire and is simultaneously launching his 501c3 nonprofit project, the Delta Commission. Drew is focused on improving the lives of everyone around him and plans to speak from past experience on some of the most emotionally charged, diverse, and inflammatory topics in a new way. He hopes what he has to share will start to collectively bring us together so that we can begin to heal the deep wounds that shape our human experience in a negative way. Drew, welcome again to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So much in that bio already. I mean, I know that we have a ton to talk about. Yeah. I know that I'm lucky enough to know many pieces of your story at this point. We've chatted a few times. So, there's just going to be so much great information. Stay tuned for this whole episode, please. Drew, the way that I like to start the podcast is in the counseling community. We like to meet our clients where they're at. Mm-hmm. I like to do the same thing so that my listeners can really understand the guests. So help us meet you where you're at and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, where I'm at. Man, life is a journey. I am at exactly where I'm supposed to be. I think, to be honest, we met at a time in my life where I am at my best, mm-hmm. mentally, emotionally, and in terms of direction and focus. Mm-hmm. So it's really been quite the journey. And so you're meeting me after years and years of struggle and pain and adversity, and it's worth it. If you just keep fighting, don't ever quit, and you can end up being pretty dope talking to Brie.
This is just the beginning for anyone that's, and I get excited about that. I like to meet people who are at any phase in their journey, and you've had several, and you said it's been so many years of adversity, I guess we can say, and I really want to get into that right away, and I think that you have a story to tell. So where would you say that your story begins?
like everything and a lot of things that I want to talk about, it all starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my story starts at home. I'm from Oregon originally.
Mm-hmm.
I come from an amazing family, man. I'm so blessed. My parents are still married. It's like straight up Notebook, you know.
Yeah.
My parents are a true love story, and we have a small family. I have a little brother. He's doing his thing. But when I was a kid, like, if you come from a family like mine and are blessed to have that upbringing, then you're taught to see the world in a certain way
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what's right and wrong. And you're told that you're loved and you're told that you can do anything you want to do and you're supported. And you really are able to develop as a kid without pressure in terms of things that are outside influences, meaning that while we all have these like challenges in life as we grow up, if you have a playbook to try to navigate life, it's much easier, I think. And so that's where my story starts. Is I was fortunate enough to have the playbook, right? So, and the drive and everything that my father gave me, work ethic and all those things, and I threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
Classic, yeah, classic kid. I mean,
Threw it away.
I was lucky enough to be naturally gifted at everything. I mean, you can't tell I'm 6'8", and so I got a basketball scholarship after high school, but I was actually good. So people are like, "Oh, you're just tall."
Didn't have to do with the height.
No,
You had
actually
skill
pretty,
too.
pretty
Yeah.
good. But I never pushed myself. I never practiced on my own time, and because I was an immature kid and I didn't want it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when I got to college, I enjoyed it for everything that it was, except for going to class. And eventually they told me, "Hey, Drew, you can't go here anymore." And I'm like, "Why not?" They're like, "Because you actually have to go to school."
Like,
Logical.
oh, yeah.
Right. So during that point in my life, I broke bad,
Mm-hmm.
pretty bad. I'm very fortunate to actually be here, to be honest, in terms of being alive, but also as a physician, you can't progress in life to some of these career choices if you have a felony, for example. And so I was able to escape a lot of poor choices at a rate which is honestly indescribable.
Mm-hmm.
Like the probability of me making it through some of the things that I went through by sheer luck.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I think that without getting too detailed, it's just, having to learn real time. Like if I don't make the right decision, my life is over, right? And we each have a choice when that decision or that event comes up. And so for me, when I was a kid, I had an event that was like, Drew, if you don't change tomorrow, you're going to go to prison
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to die. And literally it was like that background blueprint that you have, right? I had it. And so when I decided to listen and decided to change my life, like I had the playbook,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was easier for me. It's still fucking hard. But
Yeah.
like it was easier for me than, for example, some of the kids in the inner cities that are dealing with all kinds of shit that I'll never deal with. A, as the color of my skin, but B, is just the function of the environment to the level and the magnitude that it was. I mean, I associated myself with the street in Portland, Oregon. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, that's like child's play compared to what goes on and what I saw as a orthopedic surgery resident at Penn Presbyterian taking care of gunshot victims, right? I mean, but the feel is still there. The authenticity is still there. The realness and appreciation for the struggle, even though I didn't live it myself in terms of being white versus my brother who's black. So progressing to where I am now, I had to make a decision, and I had all those playbooks. Right, I had that playbook because of my past, and I walked into T-Mobile and changed my phone number and deleted all my contacts because I knew that I was too weak to do it and have people calling me and have people pulling me back. Because the truth is that we all want to be liked as individuals, right? And so when you try to do something that's against the status quo, you usually do it alone. And for me to change my life, I literally had to ghost my entire life. All my friends, my family, basically. and take off.
Wow.
And I had a lot of guilt. I still do, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's one thing in my life that I haven't fully dealt with. I know what it is. I've emotionally dealt with it, but I haven't dealt with some of the guilt from leaving my best friend,
Wow.
my brother, because he's dead now. And so to bring it back to making these decisions, you have to commit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I can put it. And so I committed to living a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with the guilt and what I was involved in, there was a lot of drugs at the time. And I fell into addiction and being very unstable in terms of my home situation. My parents had disowned me because when you come from a family like that and you don't act the way you're supposed to act, then you're really not welcome back in the home. It's a function of your choice. Right? My parents love me, but they don't know me, right? And so, dealing with drug addiction and everything, I was really struggling. I'm 260 now. I was like 198.
Wow.
I was really sick.
Wow.
And, I went and asked my father for help. I'll never forget it. He said, "Son, it breaks my heart that I could stroke a check and all of your problems would go away, but I won't do it." And it was then that I realized like how much of a disappointment I had been to my father, to my family, to my own name, to myself. And it was really painful. So I didn't talk to my dad for, I don't want to say 3 years after that. And it wasn't because I was mad. It was because I was ashamed.
Yeah.
Right? So I was still on drugs at the time. So how do you get out of that?
Right.
Well, you make a choice. You commit. And yeah, I know from experience it's hard because guess how many times I had to commit to get off drugs? It's like 100. Right? And so
That's, yeah.
My father's an amazing man. He told me one time, unrelated, that Drew, it doesn't matter how deep the hole is that you're in. When you decide to stop digging it and you want to get out of it, it's as simple as making an individual single choice one at a time, because life will present you with choices. Do I do this or do I do that? What is the right choice to make?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the right one is usually not popular. It's not going out with your friends. It's not, running after the girls. It's staying home, doing your homework, or like, saving money to meet your goals, or whatever it is. You're faced with a choice. For me, it was like, don't do drugs. And that was really hard.
Yeah.
Because you have all the pain and all the the guilt and the pull of the drug itself. And so every morning I told myself, today's the day, let's make that decision. And I liken those decisions to like little building blocks that you get when you're a kid, like ABC with little colors on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single good decision I make, I get a block. And eventually I made a good decision. I got a block and I just stacked those up. I was able to get myself clean without going to rehab or without doing any programs, which are very important. But just for me, I just willpowered the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And then I needed to get a job. And so I walked onto a car lot and ended up selling cars for almost a decade before sitting on a car lot, a little heavier than I am now, looking out the window and thinking, is this my life?
Let's pause there.
Yeah.
Let's pause there, because you have given just so much information about your story right now, and I want to highlight a few pieces.
I'm trying to keep it like really superficial, but yeah.
No, I get
I'm
it.
glad you feel that way.
You're definitely just, sort of giving these pieces that I know are important for people listening and watching to hear. A few things that are really popping out for me. One, your commitment to that choice, that you made a choice that seemed like it was a pivotal moment in your life.
Yeah, but many. Yeah.
And you committed. And what was just in that choice specifically, or of the many pivotal choices that you've made, like what makes it different than the choices that preceded it? The thoughts that came of wanting to make the choice but not committing. Like, where did that actual commitment stem from for you?
I think, and this is the first time I'm actually verbalizing this, I think that it is the beginnings of starting to come into who I was as a person, like starting to really understand who I am and what I value. And a lot of that is framed off of, how I was raised. And so when I'm doing things that aren't in tune or aren't in line with my actual values,
Yeah.
right? And let me tell you, like I put values on the back burner for a long time, and like they didn't exist for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and you know I'm not proud of it, but I own it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and so for me that is really I think the beginnings of me deciding who I am and what I stand for. It was like I'm not acting in the way that I think, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fake. I was
Wow.
fake as fuck, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so, sorry for swearing, but like
No,
it's real. And
it's
so
okay.
when you go along with the flow, with whatever people want or what other people dictate, like, and you don't have your own voice, or you're doing something you don't really want to do, but you're doing it as collectively as a group, you lose yourself, you lose your voice. And so for me, I think committing was knowing the truth about myself. Like, this is who I am as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Am I living up to that? Am I living in concordance with that? The answer was hell no.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a change. And so it was like, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be a dope head. Like, I can do whatever I want to do. I knew that. I can be whatever I want to be. I just got to fix my shit. And so I went to work.
Wow. Okay, so that I feel like really kind of pairs with the next question and
Yeah.
everything that you said as well. But the other sort of key point I wanted to sort of pull out of your story was you speaking on confronting your father, and also how this pairs with that blueprint that you said you had from your family. You were given this blueprint, you know, metaphorical blueprint of how to be, what values maybe were instilled in you. And you made this choice, and then you went to your father, and he basically said, I could change your life and write this check, but I won't do it.
Yeah.
Was that I just want to push into that moment a little bit more. Did that moment, did you feel like, was it hopelessness? Was it like I'm too far gone? Is that like, what was the surrounding feelings around that? Was it motivation? Like what?
Love. Thinking back on it,
Wow.
you have to really love your kid to do what's best for him, even when it's painful.
Yeah.
And so to disown me, to kick me out of the house, knowing that I was on drugs, knowing that I wasn't safe, knowing that I was sleeping on mattresses with no sheets and garages and all kinds of shit. To not save your kid because you love him. Dude, I can't imagine how much pain I've caused my parents. I know I've caused a lot, you know. But that's also part of my drive. Is like I'll never quit because I have to get to my potential. I have to prove people right who believe in me, and I believe in myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just love and shame on my part, I think.
Yeah.
And that is like a fire, if you will, to show my dad I am the man that you raised. You know what I mean? So.
Wow. And you really struck something for me there by saying that it was out of love, because for him to not save you meant that he knew you needed to save yourself, and he knew you had it in you to do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep going with your story, because I feel like that sort of springboards us into the next.
You're talking about what I got from my father, and I had everything in me, and part of that is I've inherited my father's like relentless work ethic and drive, and when I actually commit to something, you can't stop me. You really can't. And so why wasn't I in the NBA? It's because I never practiced a day in my life, because I was smoking weed and drinking and shit and chasing girls. Okay. Yeah. Why didn't I do this? Because I didn't want it, right? And so for the first time in my life, all I wanted to do was get off drugs. Done.
You committed and you did it.
Now what? Okay. Now I got to get a job and like prove that I'm an actual member of society instead of running around the street. Okay. Done. And then what do you do when you work? You work as hard as you can to make as much money as you can so that you can, level up your life. And so I just put my head down and went on the grind. And so I think it was 2004 I started selling cars, something like that. And I was still not all the way, focused at the time.
Yeah.
I would say
You were tunneling yourself out.
Things really started to change for me like 2007, I want to say.
Okay.
And then I started working at a Toyota store. So I'd selling cars for a decade, but started working at Beaverton Toyota in Oregon in 2008. And then got promoted through that to sales manager position, which is a good job. It's like mid six figures. And for all intents and purposes, like, yeah, you had a good career, good job, checklist, everything's great.
You did it. Yeah,
you got a dope life.
there.
Well, why am I unhappy then? Because I've never pushed myself. Like I knew if I applied that drive and my relentless nature to a goal, I would hit it. Because my mom told me I could do anything when I was a kid. And so I remember looking out the window on the car lot, realizing that I'm going to be even fatter than I am now, probably smoking cigarettes, hating my life because I never took a shot. And I knew that if I failed, what's the worst that's going to happen? Be right back here making six figures.
Right.
So,
right. You had built that platform for yourself.
And so I took a shot. I was like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, Drew? Well, I didn't know. I typed in good jobs to Google, and Google gave me jobs I didn't like, and because I knew who I was at this point.
Okay.
I started to know who I was as a person, what I loved about my job, what I hated about my job, kind of what would make me happy in a career.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it. And so I was like, what did I want to be when I was a little kid? Well, I want to be an astronaut. So I was like, cool, let's do that. That sounds cool. I like space. And so I called NASA. I want to be an astronaut. And they're like, Drew, you're 6'8". We don't make shuttles in your size. And I was like, well, that's fucking discrimination, right? So I talked to a lawyer. Turns out, just so you know, height's not a protected class.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I mean, we're far and few between. But I'm just joking. I didn't do that. But it would have been cool. If I really cared, I would have went for it, but I didn't. So
can I be honest? There was actually a moment in time when I wasn't even younger that I did want to be an astronaut.
Who doesn't? Space is awesome.
I actually I went into college not with the intent of being an astronaut, but I switched my major to biology for a semester because I was like, that would be so cool. And then
what happened? What happened to biology? Biology's
social sciences, I realized, are the sciences for me, not the sciences that you're in. Biomedical.
Yeah. And so, it wasn't even about medicine to be specific. Like I never had this drive to be a doctor. My mom's a nurse. And so that's what happened is I ended up talking to her. Like, if you're lost and you love your mom, like call your mom. She'll tell you what to do. And so
it's really true.
I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I have no idea what I want to do. And she mentioned healthcare. And there was one point earlier, I think that year, when I had asked her how her day was. And she said to me that, honey, I had the greatest day. If I could do my job for free, then I would. And I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Who would work for free? And it goes along with that thing. Like, if you love what you do, then it's truly not work. And my mom is a wound care and ostomy nurse. Like, she's one of the people that gets in there with, like, diabetic wounds and things and post-surgical stuff. And, like, she's a gangster. Like, she gets in there. And so...
Shout out to all the healthcare workers doing their thing here and otherwise.
You're all dope. And so, really, it was a matter of my mom saying... knowing me as a person and like how I like to connect with people and how easily I can find common ground and build trust. And she's like, Drew, you'd be really good at healthcare. You should look into it. So I was like, all right, Google healthcare. And it's like nurse, PA, doctor, all these things. I had no idea. I mean, I was an ex-dope head car salesman, right? I had no pedigree for looking at health stuff. You know what I mean? So I just used my dad. And like how you solve problems, right? And it's like, I'm gonna be a doctor because I knew I'd be mad if I didn't push myself to be at the top. And so,
if you were gonna do it,
if you're gonna do it big.
Yeah.
Right? If you're gonna take your shot in life, go all the way.
Yeah.
Leave everything on the field, as they say. And it was truly, how do you become a doctor? And Google spit out, you have to go to school. And I was like, oh shit. I tried that once. It didn't go very well.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually give it a full effort. Actually, zero effort at all. Except for in Techniques of Relaxation, which I got an A in, which is a great course for learning to quiet your mind in the middle of your, on a
Sounds
Monday
great.
morning after a long weekend. It's a great course.
Does sound like a great course.
And funny, I got an A in logic. Other than those 2 classes, like straight Fs. And so, you have to go to school. Okay, let's do it.
Can I ask before you even push into the rest of this, how old were you at this point? And I ask because I think it's important.
I was 20 when I actually pulled the trigger. I was 28.
Yeah. See, that's what I want to hear because I hear people who are 25 thinking that it's too late for whatever too late means. It's like your life just started. Your life just started.
Yeah, we're talking about perspective, right?
Yeah.
And somebody that thinks like that doesn't really have enough perspective on life, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And they'll get there, but like at 25, you can do anything.
Right.
At 50, you can do anything. You can
That's
literally do
why-
anything with your life that you want to do. You have to just decide to do it. I talked to my aunt about this kind of mindset that I have, and she's like, "You know what, Drew? You're right. I've always wanted to start a blog." I'm like, "And why haven't you?" She's like, "You're right. I'm in my own way." I was like, "Well, just start one. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You get to write about restaurants, because my grandmother's a career waitress, like night waitress, back in the day, and so like she'll go to the restaurants with my aunt, and she'll like pick out everything that's wrong in the scene, like they're overstaffed, they're understaffed, the waitress isn't in line with like her cook, and like all that stuff, and so she's gonna start a podcast about restaurants. Anyway,
love it. You can do it at any age.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
age.
So. You're gonna have to reorient me. I went off
Sorry,
on a
that's
tangent.
no,
I do that a lot.
that's okay.
Busy
I'm the one who asked you. I asked you about age before you pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
So that's where we were.
Age is nothing but a number.
Yes. So you Googled it up.
And so what life will give you is like a checklist. Any goal that you have, like literally pick the biggest thing: astronaut, doctor. How do you become one? Google will tell you. Okay, I need to have a degree in X, Y, or Z. Okay, how do I get that degree? Well, you got to go to school. How do I do that? You got to enroll. How? Go to their website. What's the website? Put it in, you'll get the thing. You'll get the forms, and then you fill it out. Like it's step by step by step.
Right.
And so, math 20.
Math 20.
2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. I got those right at night at Portland Community College. And I got my first A. And they let me stay. I'm like, you sure? They're like, yeah, you can stay. You can stay. Pay to play, but you can stay. And so I took another class. This time I learned long division, and which I've subsequently forgot. I have a calculator, but
I don't even know if long division is what kids are learning at this point. To be honest. Anyway, sorry, I'm sidetracked.
If you're going to be an astronaut and you're stuck in some crazy ass shit like Apollo 13, you better be busting out that long division.
You better know how.
Yeah, but not important in my current life, and so, took another class, and then you realize that you can do it.
Yeah.
You get positive feedback. Right? You get you believe you can do something, and then once you get like that feeling of accomplishment. Math 20. 2 plus 2 is 4. That's like the lamest shit ever. But like I had flunked out of school. 10 years later, I'm putting on a backpack with kids that are 10 years my junior, swallowing a huge pride pill.
Yeah.
Doing Math 20. And it felt so good. I did it. Mom, I got an A in basic arithmetic. Right? And so that just snowballed into more confidence for myself, and I just went for it. And like change is the scariest shit ever because you are uncomfortable. You don't know what's going to happen. And so I leaned on the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to be right here. So let's just go for it. So I resigned from my job and went full time. Did 2 years at community college because it was cost effective.
Yeah. Hey.
And then transferred to Portland State University and got a degree in molecular biology in 2014. And then I always had the goal to go to medical school. That was my 100% focus.
There, yeah.
Like Portland State molecular biology, that is all just check boxes on the way to where I wanted to be. I don't want to be molecular biology. I find it interesting.
Yeah.
And it's given me a broad perspective of the world, but like I really was just checking these boxes to get into medical school.
You were the steps. Google gave you the steps, literally.
And then life finds a way to just slap the shit out of you. Because you work your ass off, you change your life, you're a completely different person mentally and emotionally. like literally completely different human being than I was earlier in my life. Yet mistakes and decisions I made when I was a kid trailed along and followed me my entire life, including when I applied to medical school. I had missed a checkbox, which I'm glad that I did because I might not have gone after it so long. Which is that when you apply to medical school, you have all of your schooling, all college coursework gets brought into the pot for your cumulative GPA. So here I am sitting pretty with 3.96 thinking I'm gone. And then I'm like, what? I have to bring these other courses in. And so I pulled my transcript up and I brought over a really hot 1.6 GPA with like 2 years of coursework into a 3.96, which doesn't really translate very well. So I think I applied to like 90 schools and I got one interview, my home institution. And that's funny. The bedside manner is really important, right? Being able to communicate is imperative in life, but especially in medicine. And I'd taken my skill from selling cars, which is really nothing other than building trust and common ground because people want to buy cars, otherwise it wouldn't be there.
Right.
And like if you're a sleazebag, then they're not going to buy a car. But if I make you feel safe and like help you make a decision you already want to make by being a normal person, then you sell a car. So like, just like with patients, if you connect with them and learn their name and like really care and give something of yourself in that connection, like it's better than medicine half the time. But in terms of, I lost it again.
That's okay.
Dude, it's so few. So no. So we were talking about
the GPA was really
GPA.
kind of what brought you there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God, I swear I'm smart. And so my whole life experience had trained me for this interview because I walk in and it's this multiple mini interview scenario where you have to walk in and like to some heat and like solve real life problems. And so that's what I've been doing my whole life. And so I walk into this door, you open it up, and guess what the scenario was? It was an upset lady who was at a service center for her vehicle who was late for work, and she was really upset.
No way.
And so my job as an interviewee was to go into that room and like literally disarm that person in that scenario and like come up with problem solving things.
Wow.
And I do that every day.
Yeah.
Like people's cars break down, they come in, they scream at me, they yell at me, and then I bring them down, conflict resolution, and sell them to their car. And for this person, I literally took it all apart in like 30 seconds, and we had 5 minutes. To the point to where she was looking at her friend, she's like, I don't know what to do. So like, okay, I crushed it, it's all right. But so like,
that's great.
I mean, the fact that I had those life experiences made that so much easier for me to do, right? In this
Right.
particular school, the one school that I could get into had this particular interview set up, which was perfect for me, whereas people that didn't have life experience, that didn't have connections and finding out who they were because they went right through school, find it extremely intimidating and very, very hard. And so it was just meant to be. And so, yeah, I got into medical school in 2019 at OHSU, and then decided to become an orthopedic surgeon, which is also the hardest shit you can possibly do. And
I can imagine.
Like, you have to be the top of your class.
Yeah.
And top probably 10% in the country in medical school. So once you start getting up there, the pool is different.
Right.
In terms of the caliber of people. And like, I'm not even close to as smart as probably 85% of my peers. I make up for it in emotional intelligence and work ethic. It takes me twice as long to study, which sucks. But like, that's what it is.
That's it.
Because they're smarter than I am. I have to work harder.
You know the blueprint though
Yeah.
for you. You know
Yeah.
what you have to do. You know exactly who you are, exactly how you fit in, and exactly what that equation is. Yes, at the time.
At the time, I thought I was wrong.
Well, here we are. We're about halfway through the show right now. So we are kind of creeping up on the past few years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you become an orthopedic surgeon, and you're practicing for how long?
So, point of clarification. So,
Yeah.
when you graduate from medical school, you are a doctor, and then you take board certifications, board tests afterwards, which I've taken and passed. And you have to do training, whatever specialty you'd like to go into.
Okay.
And so I chose orthopedic surgery. You interview all over the country. I was very fortunate to match at Penn, and that's what brought me to Philadelphia in 2019. And so, as a doctor training to be an orthopedic surgeon, I was faced with things that most people never see in their life. True the true effect of how broken our system is a good way to put it.
You just gave me a chill. I'm just, visually for everyone that
because you can't. I mean, people have opinions and they're important, and people talk about these topics and it's important, and people have perceptions of things like politically. I'm not even gonna get into it, but like more Democrats tend to be more pro social type issues like healthcare and all these healthcare access and all these things than conservatives. Doesn't mean that they're not. They just think about the same issue in different ways, right? And so sometimes people can think about numbers and think about systems, but not think about people, because people and people's behavior are what dictates everything. You can put a nice shiny thing on whatever you want, but how that person interacts with that's what's important, right? And so I had my own preconceived perceptions challenged every single day, dealing with the horror show that our healthcare system is. And then you add on top of that the gun violence escalation from COVID, and this shit just got out of control. And so as a person who's been through some shit and intimately associated myself with the street growing up, and who's at this time my best friend in the world's dead. He's my brother, and he's African American. So my brother, and being entrenched in the African American community and really loving the culture and every single person just in general, but like, I mean, it's my jam. That's how I grew up in a roundabout way. And so to see people, I'm using blanket terms here, people coming into the trauma bay shot at a rate that's sickening, meaning we're stacking bodies in the back of the trauma bay because they're coming in so frequently. You're trying to save these kids, and people don't understand how crazy it gets to try to save somebody's life that's been shot. And so I didn't appreciate at the time how much PTSD I had developed and how much trauma I had developed as an individual, because the way I am is I connect with my patients, and so to do that you have to give something of yourself, and so when they die it's real heavy. Not to get into it too much, but a lot of gunshot trauma, a lot of death really fucked me up. And I wasn't able to provide care in the way I wanted to because of the time constraints of the system. All of that, plus some other things that I'll fully own, led me to decide not to return to medicine. And it's the most amazing thing ever, because if you take a situation like what just happened to me in July, meaning that after coming through everything that I have in my life, I literally have arguably the best job in the world. There's 35,000 orthopedic surgeons in the country, roughly 356 million people. That's like 0.00001%.
You are at the top.
Yeah, I mean, the income potential is $600,000 a year without breaking a sweat. The job sucks. How are you supposed to know that until you actually get into it? And then how are you supposed to navigate out of that if you haven't had life experience or built up, a strong sense of self? And so I wasn't happy. I knew I wasn't happy. And so it was just time to pivot. And I had made connections with my best friend, Lige, who was a gunshot victim in the hospital. That's how we met. We took care of his arm. Turns out he was wrong place, wrong time, but he had been trying to reduce gun violence in Philadelphia through gloves up, guns down. Dude's a beast. He's like undefeated. The guy like doesn't stop. We talked about the other day. I told him he should be a professional boxer. He's like, yeah, I just don't want it. He likes to do it, but he doesn't want it.
He doesn't want
it. Totally
could.
Totally
he
could.
Totally could.
Anyway, like he introduced me to Philadelphia and the street, and so since then we've been working together. And through my other resume, not the one I gave to Penn, but through the street, like he vouched for me and gave me credibility to go out and start meeting people and like try to actually start to change some shit. And so started with him. I'm so proud of him. He changed his life. He's working at Amazon, and like he's propelling himself towards goals of making the world a better place through what he's going to do. But after leaving, you have a choice to make. You're either going to lay down or you're going to get up. And so I left this career. And at the time I had a 2-year relationship with an unbelievable woman. nothing but love for her. And they were both ripped away within 5 days of each other. And so
Wow.
here we go again.
Whoa.
I'm on rock bottom again. But this time, I don't think that I have problems. But at the same time, Drew, how the fuck do you lose, quote unquote, lose your career and your girl within 5 days and you're straight? Nah, something's off.
Okay.
You don't even know it's off.
Interesting.
So I went to work. I got the tools out and I went to work. And that's what I've been doing since. And so you're meeting me after, there's this quote like, disappear for 6 months, work on yourself, work on your goals, blah, 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 and then come back out and shine.
Yeah, like build in silence type thing.
That shit's real.
Yeah.
I did it for 8, and here I am. And so the truth is that I needed to have both of those things ripped away from me. Because if it was one or the other, I would have just brushed it off. I'll just take the hit and keep moving. I've been doing it my whole life. But to have both of them taken away at the same time, and to after reflection, to take accountability for my part in both of those things, really gave me a lot of things to think about. And I started reflecting all the way back to when I was a kid. Like, why did I do that? What, Drew? Something's fucked up, dude. Like, figure out what it is so this never happens again. And it came down to literally finding my weaknesses, my insecurities, like how situations at work while I was sleep deprived and just emotionally just gassed, affected my relationship, my attitude, the things that I said, my actions, my moves. And like, I started going all the way back to when I was a kid. Like, why did I make these choices? And I figured out that I had this emotionality to me. I had this thing where I'm very passionate. And so if I feel it, I'll say it. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I'm the first one to jump into a dance circle and get it going at 6'8". Like, I get down. Like, you know what I mean? I'm that kind of guy. And so when I'm passionate and it's about a hot button topic, sometimes I don't think about what I say before I say it. And it's not inflammatory and like derogatory towards anybody, but it's emphatic and it's a statement, right? And so sometimes I realize that I don't really appreciate what I'm saying in the context of the situation that I'm in, who's listening, what they're going to think of it, the way that I'm saying it, the situation surrounding that, and then what is my goal in life? Like, who am I talking to? Because if I start talking like this and start, talking about freedom, blah, 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 and I'm talking to, Dr. Meta, who's very straight-laced. If you get his name wrong, he's going to eat you alive, right? Yeah. And so if I start talking like that, it's not going to be well received. But if I, Dr. Meta, Dr. Andrew Summers, blah, 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 start talking like that, it's different, right? So it's they're both real. It's just about making sure that you're moving in the right space. And so just chopped myself apart, and I couldn't figure it out. I was in so much pain.
I mean, I can just thinking about, I'm just going to pause you right there because it's, thinking about this situation for you, again, now knowing so much of your backstory or, the main pieces of your backstory and what you have been through, you're now at this, what many people would consider a pinnacle of life. And both the two most important things for you in life, your personal relationship and your professional career are taken. And you're here trying to figure out what the heck is happening, and you're saying that there's a point where you can't figure it out. Yeah.
And the key, and like, I was able to do this only because I had time alone. That's so key. If you're trying to like level up and figure out who you are as a person, like, you have to unplug from everything. And so I was in Philly. I didn't know anybody. My entire social circle just evaporated because I'm no longer with my ex. My social circle at work is evaporated because we work 110 hours a week. 80 hours a week. And I'm not functionally interacting, therefore it doesn't exist. Right? And so I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed with the rent paid, food in the fridge, no real stress other than I don't have a job now, and I don't have a girlfriend, and I don't know anybody. Philly's kind of lonely. What are you going to do, big guy? Well, shit. And as soon as you're alone, you start thinking about stuff. So that's when I decided to just get a pen and a notebook, and I walked around Philadelphia for like, it was actually 44 days, exactly, because I know when it happened, to figure this shit out, this
Wow.
emotionality. And I sat in Rittenhouse Park, and I wrote and reflected and couldn't get there until I was so upset that I looked up at the ceiling and I asked God, and I said, I can't do this on my own. I fucking can't. I can't. And like, I was raised Christian, but me and the big guy, you know, I know he's there, but like, we never really talk.
You didn't have a lot of conversations.
No, we didn't have a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, like, he's been an active, like, bumper bowling, if you will, to keep me from like going in the gutter, even though I was trying to, and I was in the gutter, like, he was trying to keep me from falling
Staying
off
there,
to bring me here. Because honestly, after asking God to come into my life just to fucking help me, because like,
Yeah.
I needed it, he came the next day, and I had
Wow.
a spiritual experience. And since then, it's like the way I think is completely different. Everything that doesn't matter is now faded away, and what matters now is realizing the true purpose of life for me.
Yeah.
And once I found that and matched that with who I am as a person, it was abundantly clear what I needed to do, which is why I'm sitting here talking to you.
There's so much. I want to kind of jump into a lot of things, but we only have 12 minutes left, so I'm gonna.
Guess you're going to bring me back, Bree.
I will have.
What do you guys think? Let's do it.
There will be a part two.
I'll talk about whatever.
I know. Well, I know that there's a lot to
Uh.
talk about too, and just behind the scenes, we usually I'll have a quick pre-interview, but our pre-interview turned into like an hour and a half, and then we
Yeah.
had several more long conversations.
Well,
So
because you're dope.
Hey. So what I want to talk about right now, kind of at that stopping point, a couple things. One, you said you understood purpose, and this whole, I mean, a dope individual is someone who's driving on purpose every day. That is how I interpret that, and I want to know what your interpretation of purpose is, and what that means to you, because it seems like you came to it. And then I do want to talk about how this has led into what you're doing now, what you're pursuing. In these final few minutes, I'll also do a little bit of a rapid fire, and then you have the floor to leave everyone with your last words.
Sweet.
All right, but let's get into the purpose piece.
All right. So for me, I really feel that life is a journey within yourself to figure out like who you really are, and like find what makes you happy, not in like a fleeting way, but like what truly brings you substance in life. Find your God-given ability, whatever that is, and then try to share it with the world. So if you can look back on your life and know that you tried to do good and you tried to touch somebody's life in a positive way or improve the lives of other people, and you've done that, then you can rest well and know that you've lived a purpose-driven life. And so to have a mindset of abundance and just being a good person is what my purpose is. And so I want to share everything that I've been through and the mindset that I've adapted, which we haven't really talked about much today, into fixing everything.
Yeah.
Because I figured it out. I know it sounds crazy, but I did.
Do you wanna kind of give us the brief version, the abbreviated synopsis of that, and how that kind of goes into what you're working on now? We've got the 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I think that me figuring out myself has allowed me to, and having the time to think is what's key and what's propelled me here, because I never would have gotten here on my own. I don't think so. I mean, and I'm not going to proselytize or anything. I mean, it's not who I am. Like, me and God are going to have our own relationship, but this is not who I am, and I think He can forgive me for that. But without those experiences, right? Without everything that led up to this point, like, I have this like literal catalog in my brain of the human experience, because I've been through a lot of shit. More than most people, less than many people, but like for me it's a lot. And so I can find common ground with anybody what does that mean? That means that if I can find common ground with anybody, then that means that we share commonality. Well, what if we look different? What if our religion's different? What if we speak a different language? What if the list goes on?
Right.
Well, the truth is we're both human beings.
Right.
We're both on this planet. We're sharing it together. We both go through the world, and the way we interact with it is based on our perceptions and our perspectives, which are both based on and challenged by our experiences in life. And then how are those experiences really formed? They're formed based on how we were raised.
Bring it back to that blueprint.
It's all about that. And there's scientific stuff, and I don't want to get all sciencey, but like we talked about it a little last night, the ACEs study, the adverse childhood events. And so if I can break anybody down into fundamental emotion, like why did you do that? Why did you cheat on that person? Why did you punch that person? Why did you shoot that person? The reason is in the emotion.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because a punch is an extension of how we feel. A gun is an extension of our arm. It's a firearm. It's an extension of how we feel. Right? And so, how are you feeling? Do you even know? I'm sure you do, but are you willing to like pop the top off that son of a bitch and talk about it? The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Why? Because it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
A lot. Trust me, I know. And so that's the fundamental key to everything, is to love yourself, forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, own them. Because you can say you're sorry until you're blue in the face. It doesn't mean shit. People say actions are louder than words, right? But so for you to take accountability, if you're sorry for something or regret doing something or want to change something about yourself, you have to take accountability. And how do you do that? Through action. You change, you adjust, you pivot.
You heal.
You heal. Perfect.
Yeah.
And it's not like healed, I'm done, because
right.
when I went to work, I went with the axes. Like I was a mess. But what I found is never going to go away. Like my insecurities as a kid, like my insecurity, I'll tell you what it is. When I was in 6th grade, I wonder if she'll ever see this. Rachel Consort, if you're out there, shout out. I wanted the prom queen. My vision of myself was like, yeah, I can date her. But it never panned out in reality, like my friend zone. So I had then turned on the bad boy to adjust for that.
Yeah.
Because it's environmental pressure, right? And so that cascaded me. Rachel, it's all your fault. Cascaded me down into like drugs and all that kind of shit. I mean, where are you? We need to talk. No, I'm joking, but like seriously. And so that, and it's not her. It is the truth that it hurts to want to be with a girl that doesn't want you, right? And so that reflects on just our human existence about wanting to be liked in general. And then you add on like the love portion of it, right? And it really hurts. And so finding that insecurity in 6th grade, literally like 4 or 5 months ago, if I ever feel doubt about a future relationship or feelings of, does she really like me or whatever, right? I can pull out Rachel Consor out of my pocket and look at that and be like, Drew, you're feeling this way. Is this even relevant anymore? Do girls like you? No, but I mean, like, is who you are now reflective of this insecurity? And the answer is no. That emotion is always going to be there. It's going to come up. It's going to pop out in some random way 5 years from now. But I did the work to where I can pull it out and be like, yeah, no, that ain't real.
Yeah.
Put it away and avoid arguments and avoid acting like an asshole and having to like apologize to your spouse or your partner because you acted foolishly out of emotion because you haven't dealt with the reason why you're even doing that.
Why it happened to begin with.
And you don't even know because you haven't dealt with the emotion to begin with, which lies in your childhood trauma.
Yeah.
It's a fact. And so everything that we do as adults is like born out of some beginning. when we were a kid and how we develop, which I know is something that's important to you.
That's very important to me. I mean, we could talk all day about this,
Yeah.
but I think
So I'm going to take that, put it in a podcast. It's no bullshit, like straight up. I don't care who you are in terms of it's not going to affect me.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about, some pretty serious shit like structural oppression and racism and gentrification and the system. Oh, shit, Drew. Be careful. Yeah, you should be. But do it in a way that we can have conversations because we forgot how to talk to each other.
Right.
That's
we
why
need to open the dialogue.
That's why there's a political divide. That's why people are screaming at each other because they're emotional babies and they've never really dealt with the reason why they even feel like that.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like that? You have no fucking idea. It's crazy. What if I could have a conversation with you? I've got a guy that follows me right now that trolled me on an Instagram Live. Literally, I was able to do it in 3 seconds. Trolling me. And I was like, hey, man, I'm happy to hear your opinion. Why don't you come on up and talk about it if you feel that way? And he's like, okay. I brought him up on Instagram Live. And I was like, hey, did you know this? This is why I feel like this. And I'm happy to hear your opinion.
Let me hear it.
And he told me something I didn't know. Do I know if it was true? No, but I said, wow, that's really interesting. I've never heard that before. Do you have, the citation so I can look at that data up and compare it to my own viewpoints?
Right.
And so, actually blasting apart this emotional back and forth the thing when you get with people that troll you, you want to yell back at them or you feel bad, engage them. Because those people are hurting too because they don't even know why they're trolling. Why are you trolling somebody? Because you are hurt. It's your only reason. That's like your get back.
Yeah, yeah.
And feeling less than and not being accepted. Now you have a voice and you can say whatever you want, right? And so, while that's a very blanket statement, that's the core emotion behind it, right? So,
there's room for the dialogue.
Yeah,
There's
and
room
so
for dialogue.
for example, you want to hear some inflammatory shit, quote unquote. And I thought about this. And it's really been bothering me because, like I said, my brother's African-American. And I never appreciated that, that dichotomy, because that's my family. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't think about him like he's black. But when I was a kid, right, 17, 18, 19, 20, you don't think about that kind of thing. But I wish I would have because I never asked him things that are so important to me because of how much I love him. I never realized that I could stand right next to my brother and be in a different world than him. Just as a function of the color of his skin, which is bullshit. Because as a doctor, we're blank cartridges. Literally, the color of skin has nothing to do with anything. It's a societal construct. It's an accumulation of melanin in your epidermis. No, dermis. Doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
We put a label on it, right? It is the environment and the pressures on a developing human brain, which pound for pound, white baby, black baby, green baby, as long as they're the same, will develop in a certain way depending on the pressures that are put on them. So no fucking wonder it's like it is.
Yeah.
And so to be able to tell it like it is, at least be real about it, and then come to a discussion knowing that you don't know shit about anything and asking questions. The example is, when do you have the talk as an African American? I don't know. I'm curious. And what does that sound like? It must be fucking horrible. How do you even have that conversation with your kid? I'm a father. How do you tell a kid that doesn't even know yet that he's black? And this is what everybody thinks about you just because of the color of your skin. How do you have that talk? And then if you come from a family that's fragmented because of, generational cycles of, misappropriation of the penal system, food deserts, you name it, all of it, healthcare disparities, list it all down. Guess what? There's a reason. Slavery.
Yep.
It doesn't mean we can't talk about it. We just have to call it like it is. I'm admitting that this system is fucked up. I'm admitting that I don't know shit about what it is actually like to go there, but I'm about as close as you can get because of my past, and I'm coming from a place of love. And so on my podcast, I'm gonna be talking about stuff like that. I'm gonna be talking about how to actually get anything you want in life, how to literally rewire your brain. I'm gonna feed it to you on a silver spoon, and literally 10% of the people are actually gonna take me up on that advice. But if I can change one life, just one, then it's all gonna be worth it.
Then that one life changes one.
Everything will be worth it.
Yeah.
I think Tupac said, he doesn't think he's going to change the world, but if he could change the one person that will go on to change the world, that's what he's about. Mm-hmm. And so I believe in his legacy, if you will, that will hold true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I want to go. We are definitely going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's going to happen because
we're new for season 2. We just started. We haven't even talked about the 501c3. We don't have time. We'll do it next time.
We'll do it next time.
Yeah, it'll be fully running next time we talk.
Yeah, awesome. Well, then we'll have then we'll have more to talk about as well. Yeah, because
cool.
it'll be up and running. It'll tell us how it's going. But let's do a quick rapid fire. We got a little bit of about a 5-minute extension here. Oh, thanks to Gotham Podcast Studio. They're awesome here. So we got a couple extra minutes. So let's go into rapid fire, and then I'm gonna really leave you the floor for the last couple minutes. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah.
Your whatever message you want to leave with everyone as well.
Hit me with the good stuff.
All right. Here we go.
All right, let's go.
So in the beginning of the podcast, I talked about 3 pillars: development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose.
Yeah.
That's what these questions are on. So the first one is right now, currently in this very moment, are you working more on personal development or professional development?
Right now, professional, because I put in 8 months of work on personal.
Great. It's time. It's time for time to talk about that 501c3. Okay. Question number 2. I'm going to ask you this one and then give you a little bit of an explanation before you answer. When you make decisions, okay, in terms of decision making, do you make your decisions more based on choice or guiding voice? Choice meaning you follow numbers, analytics, and data. Guiding voice meaning you follow intuition, spirituality, gut feeling, or something else of the sort. So do you come to the decision, or does the decision come to you? That's really what that question asks. Choice.
You can't be oblivious to the data. Mm-hmm. You have to make smart moves, right? But you're going to get in your own way. And so what you're talking about is your intuition or your gut. And what that actually is scientific. It's your brain telling you whatever it is that this situation is one way or the other. Dangerous, not dangerous. I like this person, I don't. That Drew guy, I want to punch him in the face, and I don't know why. It's because my face or my demeanor is triggering your brain's memory of something that you've experienced in the past. And so it's throwing up red flags. We can get into dating and all that other stuff based on that.
So, for sure.
But yeah, so it is literally just checking, knowing ahead of time I'm going to make this decision. Is this a sound decision? Will it work? Yeah, okay. And then go with the gut and just make a snap decision. And
okay.
So I make quick decisions, and if you've seen me over the last 8 months, to be like, what the hell is Drew doing? Because I'm going bing, 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 trying to find my way to this. And it's just me going with my gut.
Yeah, okay.
And,
all right.
And finding the shortest path to success for what I want to do. And I found it.
Awesome. All right. And the last one is a dedication to purpose. So this one, I am curious to know, is dedicating yourself or your life to purpose or something purpose-filled, is that a singular pivotal moment in time, or is that a daily practice?
What do you mean? Have I been doing that for a long time, thinking about that?
I mean, like once you understand purpose and how it fits into your life, do you understand it and then it's just there?
It becomes part of who you are. You can't, when you know something, you can't unknow it. You can deny it, but you can't unknow truth when you feel it or when you hear it. And so for me, and I'm pretty sure it's universal, once you realize that there's a different way to think and a different way to move, being genuine and being real and putting forth this purpose-driven life, like you operate differently. I was talking to my friend, like it's people who have purpose and go after what they want to do and like live like that are quote unquote real ones, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means they've gone through their trauma. They've done those things to like use their experiences to grow. And so it's just as simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that answer. I think that it describes how purpose fits into your life.
You just think differently.
Yeah.
You interact with the world differently. Once you assume that, there's no going back.
There's no going back.
Awesome. I don't have to check it anymore.
Yeah.
It feels real.
Yeah.
And when it's real, you don't have this reality check. You're not like the Matrix. You're not trying to like figure it out. Like it just is.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's the end of my rapid fire. I'm going to leave you the floor for the last couple minutes. Let everyone know where they can find you if you want to talk about, what you're working on, and then last final thoughts for everyone.
Yeah. So my name is Drew Osby. Like I'll never go by Dr. Anderson. I always tell my patients, don't ever call me that.
Yeah.
You can call me Dr. Drew. You know, in Philly they call me the Doc.
Okay.
What I ask about Drew. But I think that the most important thing to take out of all this is that you have a choice how to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like it sometimes because we're scared. And so I would encourage anybody listening to start to try to find out who they are. And you do that by telling your loved ones, people in your life, that I'm going to take the weekend off. I'm going to unplug my phone. Here's where I'm going to be at. If you can afford it, go somewhere, find a motel, fucking Bates Motel, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, find somewhere where you can be alone, turn your phone off, and start reflecting on your life. Mm-hmm. Are you happy? Yes or no? Yeah. If the answer is no, figure out what it is and cut it out of your life. I had to do the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life was tell my ex-wife that I didn't want to be married to her anymore. Mm-hmm. It was soul crushing. And that's why people cheat on people, because it's way harder to tell somebody across the table, I don't love you anymore. Yeah. She's a great person, and we're like awesome co-parents. But the point is like, I knew that for me to be happy, I couldn't be in that relationship anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? And so you only live this life one time. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, like, this go around, you got one shot.
One shot.
And let me tell you, I've seen some horrible shit. It can end like that. I've seen accomplished business people literally just going to open their car door, get hit by buses. I've seen moms get hit by trains, leaving I mean, I've seen some horrible shit that puts a stamp on the fact that I could be gone tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. So if you're not happy, figure it out.
Figure it out.
Because you can't help or like enrich anybody else's life unless you got your shit together. Yeah. Otherwise, like, you have nothing to give. And so if you are in a situation where you need to give, if you're a mom or like you're a teacher or you're somebody who is like expected to be a giving person, like, you got to protect yourself. Yeah. And so if you're not whole or you're not happy, then figure out what it is and cut it out. And I guarantee you, the initial pain is the best decision I ever made. For my son, for my relationship, for everything, because it allowed me to be happy and pursue the life I wanted to live. Yeah. Is it selfish? Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think that it's okay to be selfish with your own happiness. As long as you communicate why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to do this because I'm unhappy. Here's why. Here's how hard it is for me to tell you this. Blah, 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 blah. And then you can heal and move on. And the grass is greener on the other side when you let go of shit, relationships, people that are toxic. Just cut them off. Don't ghost people you go on a date with, because that's rude. But like, ghost toxic relationships with one message: this just isn't working for anymore. I respect you. I love you. Like, there's no beef, but I just have to move on with my life. Yeah. You're welcome to come, but I can't. I have to move different. Yeah. And if they love you, they'll respect that. And if not, fuck them. They weren't supposed to be in your life anyway.
It's a solid message. It really is. And let everyone know where they can find you before we wrap it up.
So you can find, I literally just starting, I'm not a big social media guy, but now I have to have it. So it's Not a Normal MD, which is fitting. All one word, lowercase, Not a Normal MD on Instagram, or the Doc on Fire podcast on YouTube. It just started off with some real legit facts about COVID, because people are coming up to me with some crazy shit that's not true. And so I started putting out some actual legitimate information. So that's on. Definitely
worth watching, listening to, checking it out. So no matter where you start your social media, like, you are doing incredible things. So I will make sure to post all of those as well, so everyone listening and watching can get in touch with you, see what you're up to. And that's it for today. So Dr. Andrew Summers, Drew, everyone, it has been such a pleasure. Seriously, awesome. Seriously appreciate you. I thank you for coming on, sharing your knowledge, sharing your story. And until next time, let this be the moment.